Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, Field Goals and Forecasts, from inside the radio station at 88.3 FM, The Buzz, St. Bonaventure, New York, on Afterthought Sports YouTube channel. I'm Ryan Adio, that's James Derrick, and we have a lot to talk about in this, free agency episode of Field Goals and Forecasts. There's been a lot that has gone down the past, just 24 hours. I wish we could have got this show a little bit, even yesterday, but,
I know for you, Ryan.
Thanks.
We'll get into it later. We had some free agency predictions.
That's what I was trying to.
I guess we can try to claim that Ryan had a lot of them correct.
I did. I had Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. I had Justin Fields to the Jets. I did. I swear to God, it's in the.
I swear.
It's in the show lineup, like in the history. You go back and look.
Yeah.
You guys would have probably enjoyed that.
I don't know if anyone will believe you, but he did have it. I swear, guys.
Hey, that's 2 eyewitness accounts. But anyway, let's jump into some free agency news, and then we'll talk about some free agency predictions. There's a lot of news to cover, so bear with us here. I want to really give our opinions on most of these things, and we give our opinions a lot about the Bills most of the time.
Yes.
We're kind of like a Bills central podcast a little bit. So let's talk about some Bills news, and there's a lot of it. The Bills have extended Greg Rousseau, they extended Terrell Bernard, they extend Josh Allen, they extend Reed Ferguson, and they made some signings, which we'll get into in a second. But let's talk about these extensions here. First of all, the man of the hour, the MVP, Mr. Josh Allen, well-deserved 6-year, $330 million extension, $250 million guaranteed, the most guaranteed money in the NFL right now. It's deserved. What else can I say?
Yeah.
That's what you pay the MVP. He no longer has a short contract. He's going to be here for the rest of his career. That's what the Bills wanted. He is locked up. Good for him. I'm happy. He's got a great stretch of events. He got engaged. He won MVP. Now he's making $250 million guaranteed over 6 years. Good for him, man. I'm happy for Josh. He deserves it. What a great story he is. And who better to be the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills?
I know. MVP. He, like you said, deserves it. I think this is a big, Bills culture thing. If you earn your extension, they'll pay you.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of the same thing with a bunch of other guys on the roster, too.
Yeah. Terrell Bernard, Greg Rousseau, those are both defensive guys. Greg Rousseau, especially needing that defensive line position, defensive nose tackles, edge rushers, outside linebackers to really get to the quarterback. Our pressure at the end of the season was terrible. So getting Greg Rousseau locked up, I think, is extremely important for this team. And he's honestly one of the premier run stoppers in the league, which I don't think he gets enough credit for. I think this is a wonderful move for them.
Yeah, and with all of these extensions, Josh has his 6 years and Greg Rousseau has his 4. That gives the Bills a lot more wiggle room, right? There are some options. I know for Josh's contract that might extend it a little bit and maybe even spread out the money, a little more to give us some cap room. If he gets those extra years that are in there, maybe. But I think that's kind of what they go for with all of these extensions. It's not they are obviously paying these guys, but it's not gonna take the cap hit that you really think it's going to. Josh has a bunch of guaranteed money, but it
actually probably saves us money in the future, which I think is that's what you want to do at the end of the day. Brandon Beane cooks when it comes to money, when it comes to contracts, when it comes to stuff like that. He cooks. And you know what? He also cooks in these free agent signings. We could also talk about Reed Ferguson, but I didn't think half the people watching probably don't even know who that is. He's now the highest paid long snapper of all time. He's got a 4-year, $6.5 million contract. He's the GOAT. What can I say? Best long snapper in the league, I guess. Do you want to go into our releases, or do you want to go into our free agent signings so far?
We can real quick go into some releases and then get to the signings. Yeah.
Okay, so the Bills released Von Miller. Everyone kind of saw that coming. He has played pretty terribly since his injury, and he's eating our cap space. We really owe him so much money. His contract is terrible. And the Bills released Sam Martin, which I think went under the radar for a lot of people, but we got a new special teams coordinator. I'm sure that's the reason. I think he just wants to get a new crew in there, and understandably so. Sam Martin was very good for us last season, but he was falling off a little bit. He's getting older. Probably don't want to pay him. It's just something that had to happen. Run me through your thoughts on the Von Miller release.
Well, A, it's about damn time, but
yeah.
B, I still wish him well, and honestly, if he still could play on the Bills, I would love that. But it's all about the money. I mean, if he was just being paid way less, or a vet minimum, and he could be a mentor to some guys on the team, no one would complain about that. However, I think there's another side of it too, where as much of a mentor as he can be, maybe he shouldn't even be on the Bills, even on a vet min or something, because he's had a fair amount of off-the-field problems, too, that have arisen over the past couple years. I think, overall, glad to have him gone in general.
Yeah, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, so start your brain a little bit here.
Okay.
We didn't have this in our free agency predictions, which are coming in the future. And, I don't know, 30 minutes from now, so you can skip towards that. Where do you think Von Miller ends up? What team do you think really takes a chance on him and signs him?
Well, there are a couple teams that would like a Von Miller, that might need a Von Miller. I know some teams that need an edge, even the Rams possibly might need somebody. I don't know if he'll
going
play.
Back to the Rams.
But, exactly. I think I could see him just going back to the Rams, especially if, he's not asking for a ton of money. Then you could see him go back there, I think.
Yeah. I think the Rams really like their young guys. I think they really love drafting young players, and they're really good at it, don't get me wrong. I think, honestly, Von Miller feels like a Cowboy signing. I feel like he might be a Cowboy in the future.
Yeah, Jerry Jones, he's stuck a couple years ago. He'll sign him, 2 years, $30 million.
Oh, that guy was the Super Bowl MVP, I think he could end up in Dallas. And they're losing a few key pieces on the edge. And if they lose Micah Parsons, that would be rough, too.
Yeah.
So, but then the Bills did go and sign some players yesterday. At the time we're filming this, it's a Tuesday. I don't know when this video is going to go up, probably Tuesday as well. But yesterday they did sign Josh Palmer to a 3-year, $36 million, $18 million guaranteed contract. And Mike Hawk, and I don't have the exact numbers on his contract, but I think it's around $20-30 million for 3 years. Which, Josh Palmer, obviously, let's talk about that one first. We needed a guy who could get separation, and I think this is one of the premier separation guys in the league. He was critically underrated on the Chargers. I love this move, personally.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. He's been a waiver wire pickup in fantasy for the past 2 years, and I think when you watch him, you can see how if he had some more opportunities on another team, he's been kind of stuck as the wide receiver 3 for a while, and I think he has room to prove himself on the Bills now. And I think when you have room to prove yourself, and the Bills, they re-sign their guys that they draft if they play well. So it's kind of the same thing where if Josh Palmer comes in and he plays well, maybe even he could get an extension. And I think players know that when they come in. So I think he'll have more incentive to play well on the Bills too.
That's so funny. He does have a 3-year contract as it stands now. I would love to see where he turns out. The last guy we gave a last wide receiver, I should say, we gave this larger contract to was Curtis Samuel. And he's decent. Don't get me wrong. Curtis Samuel had his moments, but I don't think this is anything like I saw out of Curtis Samuel. I think this is a sneaky good pick up for the Bills. And so I heard this stat. Shout out to my roommate Mike. He told me this one. Josh Palmer was 10th in separation last season, and the next Bills receiver on the list of highest list of separation, is Amari Cooper at 61.
Oh,
61. So we needed separation desperately, and Keon Coleman ain't getting it either. So that's where I think Josh Palmer really fits in. I really like him.
Yeah, and that's the kind of other thing that I kind of question now. I think Joshua Palmer will probably be getting more snaps than Keon Coleman, and I know the Bills, they like to, draft and develop, but I don't know. Joshua Palmer deserves to see a lot more snaps. I
agree.
And like we said, we need someone to beat man coverage, and Joshua Palmer's that guy.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's going to be something. I hope he's electric next year. I really do, because I like him. Unfortunately, we did lose Mac Hollins as well, so that's a heartbreaker. It really is. I loved Mac Hollins.
Seriously, if we could trade for him mid-season, I think we should. Seriously.
That's what I think.
I loved him so much.
Yeah, that's what I think. Anyway, Mike Hocht, any feelings about that? I guess he plays linebacker, defensive tackle, defensive end. He's kind of a everywhere player, like a jack of all trades a little bit.
Yeah, he can.
Like it.
He can plug and play, and I haven't watched probably as much of him as I should have, but he's a big guy, and what I've seen from people on Twitter is that he's kind of freaky athletic, sneaky athletic too. If you can get anyone who's over 300 pounds and they got freak athleticism, you can sign me up for that, especially if he can play really anywhere. I mean, we get injuries at all sorts of positions throughout the year, so I'm sure he'll be valuable as that kind of role, plug and play.
Here's my expert analysis on this pickup. I think Mike Hocht is exactly what the Bills needed so that they don't have to run nickel or dime on almost every single defensive coverage. If you don't know what nickel and dime is, nickel is when you have a guy like Taron Johnson come in and play as your third linebacker in a 4-3 set, four nose tackles, defensive ends, and 3 linebackers. Taron Johnson was playing that third linebacker spot, as a slot corner for most of the year last year. He was almost like set in stone in that spot. I think this signing with Mike Hocht is one that will make it so that we can run just with 3 linebackers more often, or even when we run a 3-4 set, he can be that like 4th linebacker. I don't think that they like Dorian Williams enough, so I think that's where he's going to fit in. I would like to see what they could maybe do with him. Obviously, Terrell Bernard each got an extension, so he's staying. Matt Milano's staying there. I think he could be that sneaky third linebacker that we needed. Yeah, and I love the signing. I think we should have gotten maybe a little bit of a better linebacker, like pure linebacker. But he's athletic. He's right where he needs to be. Let's see how they use him. It'd be interesting to see. Yeah,
and we've definitely been at least trying to, as we saw in the playoffs a little more, get away from those nickel packages, and it didn't work, right? And we saw that against Kansas City. Yes. Kyer Elam got blown up. We already talked about this. But we should build a team that can play playoff defense, which is not nickel. We need to be able to put pressure.
Which we run a lot of for some reason. How long has the Bills' rush defense been just bad?
Well, a while, right? Really, as long as I've been watching the Buffalo Bills,
right?
We've always had a terrible run defense
because we have DBs out there playing in our 4-3 nickel formation. So I just think, run a classic, just 4-3. Give me 3 linebackers, 3 pure linebackers, and I think our run stopping gets a lot better.
Yeah, I agree.
Last thing here for the Bills, kind of. It's going to be a weird transition, but Saquon Barkley got an extension, 2-year, $41 million, makes him the highest paid running back in the league. Now James Cook can be like, hey, I'm only asking 15.
This is not what you wanted to see.
It's going to make it a lot harder for the Bills to sign him. And with this draft coming up, there are so many good running backs.
Yeah. It really sucks because James Cook has so much left in front of him. He's young.
Yes.
Even as a running back, I say so much left in front of him. But, if you can get 3 more years out of a running back, that's a lot. And, I think that's what you can get with James Cook because he is so young, at least.
Right.
But this just kind of sucks,
Yeah.
You can't point at Saquon Barkley and say, well, he doesn't make that because, well, he makes well over that. Very deserved. Of course, Saquon Barkley was the reason the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl. But I think this almost seals the fact that James Cook could be going somewhere else.
Really? You think this seals that James Cook is going somewhere else?
Maybe not seals, but it seals that he's going to ask for that much money. Yeah, and I don't think we're going to give it to him. I don't think we can. Unless we can extend some more guys and spread out some more money. Bean would have to really cook up, I think, or maybe even get rid of somebody. But I think James Cook is definitely going to ask for $15 million, if not more now. And then I don't think we're going to be able to pay.
Do you think we franchise tag him?
Oof, what's the franchise tag?
The franchise tag is 13.6. That's what I was just Googling. We could franchise tag him. I don't know if we need to franchise tag him. I think he's just looking for an extension, right? His rookie contract's not up.
Okay, so... Well, then
pay
again,
him next year and it would be fine, but he's just making a big deal out of it now. That's the problem.
And there are the players that I don't think James Cook would do this, but he could, hold out until he gets the extension, and then we'd have problems there. But
yeah,
I think, again, I don't know. James Cook is one of those guys that, played well as a young Bill, and it kind of goes with our team to extend him. We like to extend the guys who play well young, but I don't know. It's a lot of money at the running back position, and we're kind of good.
That's another thing. We have Ray Davis. We have Ty Johnson, and we could draft a running back again. Vishal Tutin, 4th round, 3rd round. We could get him, and he's fast and he's good. He's a sneaky little player. So, well, no, I shouldn't say little. He's a lot larger than I am. But you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of good players in the draft. It just makes it hard. We'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
But the Saquon Barkley extension definitely doesn't help the James Cook situation.
No.
My next bit of news here, I think the next biggest bit of news, in my opinion at least, DK Metcalf traded to the Steelers for a 2nd-round pick. He signed to a 5-year, $150 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the quarterback, though? Who is throwing to him and George Pickens, which, let me say, is one of the worst locker room matchups in the league.
Yeah, unless maybe they cancel each other out.
They might. You know what? They might. But I think DB should be scared of playing this team, and not just because they're hard to cover. They are going to get beat up. They're going to get punches thrown at them. If you go into Pittsburgh, you should expect to argue with at least one of them.
Yeah, and, I think the biggest problem, like you said, is the quarterback.
Yeah.
If you are having trouble feeding, just George Pickens last year, and then you're going to add in DK Metcalf and subtract quarterbacks, that doesn't sound good whatsoever. I mean, there's still a track for them to get a quarterback that's okay enough to throw to both of them. It's not like the Steelers are totally cooked.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers is still out there, and among other guys. But man, I don't know if this was totally thought through. They both wear the same number too.
Yeah, that's true.
Before the season even starts, they're going to be fighting.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun receiver core to watch. Let's be honest. They're going to be in the media quite often.
Yeah.
Did you see what Chris Boswell said on Instagram on his story?
No.
He posted a picture of him throwing, and he said, "I got this. GP and DK down there somewhere." And you know what? That's all the Steelers need. Is they just need someone who could throw the ball kind of deep and make sure that DK gets like 3 targets a game.
Yeah, and just get it down there.
And I think they missed out on the Matthew Stafford, kind of trade allegations, whatever that was at the beginning of the season. If they would have got him, that would have been that team would have been scary. And now they're kind of stuck with maybe Aaron Rodgers.
Or worse, it doesn't get better from Aaron Rodgers.
No, it can't get any worse. Maybe Russell. Do they re-sign Russell Wilson? I don't know. Your quarterbacks, both of them, should be in the retirement home at this point. So it's really tough to say who they get.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think Justin Fields might have been their best option, but now he's gone.
Exactly. So
he's now on the Jets.
What is there left to do? I think they've left themselves a lot of questions, and I think they have the coaching staff to maybe work through this.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, of course.
But, I mean, Metcalf and Pickens are both guys that kind of demand 5+ receptions a game.
Right.
And they can't do that right now. Not with this current team. They need work to do.
And they just lost their running back as well. Najee Harris went to the Chargers, which I think is a weird move for them, but understandably so. Jaylen Warren is the back now. But again, a lot of really good running backs in this draft. Maybe they go for Ginty. Maybe they go for Omarion Hampton. I think you easily could make up a running back like that. And I wasn't huge on Najee, I won't lie.
No.
So it is what it is for them. The next big thing that I thought really went well in the free agency so far, the Bears have really buffed their offensive line.
Oof, big time.
They signed my Falcons center, Drew Dahlman, who have fun with him. 3-year, $42 million. They got Joe Tooney from the Chiefs, the 2026 fourth in a trade. And they got Jonah Jackson, who they traded to the Rams they traded a 6th-round pick to the Rams to get. That is a really buffed up offensive line. Caleb Williams was the most sacked QB in the league last season, and I think the Bears said, we are not doing that again. We want to see what he can do behind a buffed offensive line. And that could be a scary offense next year.
Yeah, and I feel like they kind of fleeced here, right?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, you trade a 4th rounder for Joe Thuney. You couldn't draft someone like Joe Thuney in the 4th round ever. No. So, I mean, and yes, obviously he's older, but still, he's going to perform at a high level for at least a couple more years.
Yeah, he's one of the premier offensive guards in the league.
Yeah, and when you eliminate the interior pressure that gets to Caleb Williams even quicker than the exterior pressure along the edges, that saves him even more time. And,
right.
and they've buffed all parts of this line.
Yeah, really good moves for the Bears so far this offseason. I love what they're doing. This is going to be a new, revised Bears team, new head coach. Did they get a new GM? No. Ryan Poles is still there, I think. New coach. New offensive coordinator?
Yep, new offensive.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. New revised team. How about that? Let's just stick with that.
It's a new revised team.
And they need it because it's a tough division, too.
Exactly. I mean, my boss back at home, he's a Bears fan.
Unfortunate.
He's still not hopeful. I think there's a lot of Bears fans that are just like, I have to watch them first.
Yeah, you can't hurt me anymore. I know what to expect.
Yeah, so regardless, Bears fans are still sitting on pins and needles, I think. I think they want even more to be done, to be honest. I think there is still some that they can do. But again, we'll have to just wait and see. Technically, free agency starts tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, tomorrow. But, I mean, all the good pretty much already gone.
Yeah.
The big men have got paid this offseason. Max Crosby is staying with the Raiders, 3-year, $35.5 million a year contract. Josh Sweat to the Cardinals, 4 years, $76 million. How about Myles Garrett? We were talking for half an hour on an episode where Myles Garrett might end up. And he's back on the Browns. Money talks, man. 4-year, $123 million extension. And he's now the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. I don't think he wants to be in Cleveland, but I think his agent said, you better take this, because you're not going to get it anywhere else.
I think that was pretty much it, is he wasn't going to be able to get it anywhere else. And, that's just so much money. I feel like when these players demand trades and deny these contracts from teams that would make them more money, I don't even know how they do that. Winning must be very important to those players, because if I was faced with, $40 million a year, I don't care where you put me. I don't care if we lose.
Winning is always the first priority, I think, until you get $123 million over 4 years.
Well, I also know, one of the big reasons that the Mets signed Juan Soto was because they had a PowerPoint that showed them all the moves that they were going to make up until 2035. They had an extensive plan. I don't know what the Browns talked about with Myles Garrett. Maybe they do have a plan. Maybe they have a plan for these next 4 years where they're saying, hey, we are going to be competitive again, and they can convince him to stay with the money as well.
Yeah. I don't know if this matters that much. This just broke. Tyrann Mathieu is going back to the Saints. I mean, the Saints. That's like purgatory of the NFL.
Yeah.
So they must have paid him a lot too. I mean, if we're talking about money, they must have paid him a ton of money to stay there. Yeah. I didn't actually see the details of the contract. I just know. I got a tweet from Adam Schefter.
He's been hard working all day.
Yeah, he has. And Twitter went down yesterday, which was bad for him. Let's continue on with the football news here. The Seahawks and the Jaguars kind of cleaned house. Let's start with the Jags because theirs is a little less important, I guess. They released Evan Ingram. They released Ronald Darby. They released Devin Duvernay. They released Josh Reynolds. Are they expected to make like a big move? Who are they? The Jaguars will always sign some like good player, but not great player. Like look at Christian Kirk, who they actually traded to the Texans. Who I forgot to put on here, but they traded him to the Texans as well. They gave him the bag. Like, they destroyed the wide receiver market. They gave him so much money. And I think they just love doing that. They love just giving kind of, like, good but not great players a ton of money.
Yeah, I don't really know if there's some kind of big move coming. I don't really think I care. The Jaguars, they suck.
Who could they even sign at this point?
Suck.
Trey Hendrickson?
I mean, it's not going to fix it. They suck.
They do.
That's all I have to say about that.
Say it one more time.
They suck.
Yeah, there you go. I think 5 or 6 is good enough to really emphasize how much they really do suck. The Seahawks, though, completely cleaned house. They traded DK, obviously. They released Tyler Lockett, and they traded Geno Smith to the Raiders for 2025 third to reunite him with Pete Carroll. I think that's a great move for the Raiders, personally. I love Geno Smith. He's old. But that's a good move. Reunite him with his former coach. And the Seahawks, what happened? What happened there? They just gave up?
I don't know. I think they weren't really seeing everything that they wanted to see from him. And I think they did get decent value for him.
They did.
You could get a Geno Smith level quarterback in the third round. I think if
they
you develop him properly
in like the third round, yeah, or
exactly.
like a Kyle McCord. all right. I pushed it too far.
Now we're joking.
I pushed it too far.
But yeah, like you said, reuniting with Pete Carroll, I think that's fun for him. And I think as far as the Raiders are concerned, I don't think this does much for them, but I think it helps them sell a couple more tickets. And I think they can get people in the door and have some people be excited about this Raiders team.
Yeah, and they really need the excitement because other than Max Crosby, they have not done much.
No.
Let's continue on here, though. Same thing. The Seahawks did get a player back, though. We talked about this earlier. Sam Darnold to the Seahawks. 3-year, $110 million. Do you think Sam Darnold's really worth 3 years, $110 million?
I mean, it's about the guaranteed money here, which, it's lower than that.
That's true. That's true.
I think he's only guaranteed about half of that. I think like $56 million. I might just be pulling that out of my
I have no idea. I could look.
But, it's not like it's super hard to get all the money out of the guaranteed. I don't know. 1 year, maybe even almost just like 12 weeks was all Sam Darnold was good for.
That's true.
And I don't know how much of that we can attribute to Aiden O'Connell putting on a masterclass for that team.
That is also true.
But I think regardless, Sam Darnold can at least learn what he did well in Minnesota. I think it's kind of weird, Minnesota let this happen. I mean, it shows they weren't as confident in him as they may have seemed last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Now they kind of have a hole at that position.
Can we be real here?
Yeah, sure.
Sam Darnold isn't that good.
So you think it was all just situation?
I think Kevin O'Connell is one of the greatest coaches in the NFL. I mean, that's why he won Coach of the Year. It wasn't just a fluke.
So
I think Sam Darnold is good. He has all the potential in the world. I don't think he's going to fit in well with the Seahawks.
Maybe not, and maybe that's...
The Vikings was the perfect spot for him. You saw.
He had the best receiver in the world.
Yes, you saw.
Not really, but
I mean,
close.
JSN is very good, don't get me wrong, and Justin Jefferson is leagues ahead of him, though.
Mm-hmm.
You saw how he collapsed in the playoffs. One of the worst playoff performances one of the most hyped up and let down playoff performances of all time. What? How can you see that and say, I want him for 3 years?
I think they just wanted something different. I think they knew for a fact that Geno wasn't going to work out.
I would understand if it was like a 1-2 year deal even. I know 3 isn't that much. But you're saying, okay, Sam, see what you can do. If we do terribly and you tank and we get a high pick, you can at least mentor a quarterback for another year and then you're out, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so I want to say, flip this around to the Vikings. Does this mean, whatever quarterback they get is going to suddenly prosper? Do you think?
I think J.J. McCarthy's in a wonderful spot to do well. And I don't think he's that good. And I think he's going to end up doing well because he's in a great spot. They suffer from great coach syndrome. And that's the Viking way. I mean, you're just in a really good situation.
I mean, I guess that's still a good situation for the Vikings, but they get some good return on investment for their players.
That's true. That is really true. Obviously, we talked about this already, but Justin Fields to the Jets, 2 year, $40 million. I love it. They probably should have just drafted Justin Fields when they had the chance to in 2021, when they picked Zach Wilson instead. I always thought they should. I don't know why Fields fell as far as he did, and I don't know why Zach Wilson climbed as much as he did. It's a weird draft to look back on, I won't lie. But 2 year, $40 million, they're just kind of testing the waters with him. He reunites with his former college teammate, Garrett Wilson. I really like the move. Are they contenders now?
No.
Okay.
I don't think.
Playoff contenders, maybe.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can kind of always put them in there just because of the star power that they've got. I mean, Breece Hall's still there, and Garrett Wilson, like you just mentioned.
Who's their head coach?
Crap, it's escaping my mind right now. I seem very unknowledgeable on this, but
is it was the former. Keep talking. I'm gonna look.
Yeah. I don't know if Justin Fields is that guy.
Defensive coordinator.
Former Lions defensive coordinator.
Aaron Glenn.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I was gonna say. I promise.
Regardless, I don't think Justin Fields is like that guy that's gonna lead them into the promised land.
I was always high on Justin Fields.
I think he definitely showed some potential in Pittsburgh, and I think that's why he earned this contract. And he had to get up out of there. But I don't know if this changes much for the Jets. I think overall it's still the Jets. They'll find a way to screw it up. And end all be all, I think, like how you mentioned, they should have just drafted him. Well, I think if they drafted him, he would have been off the team by now already. So
I guess that's true. That's a good point, I guess. I don't really know where I stand. I was always high on Justin Fields. I think given the right opportunity, he could be really good.
How many wins do you think the Jets go for this season, given their division, right?
So
they're in a tough
16,
spot.
You play 16 games, right?
17
games?
17.
I think they go.
How many? Just give me a win number. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12?
I'm gonna say 8 is the first number that came into my head. I think they go 8 and 9.
All right. And if that kind of squeaks them into a playoff spot, it squeaks them into a playoff spot.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think it will.
Well,
the AFC is so competitive.
You're the one asking me if they're playoff contenders.
I'll say this. I think they're going to be better than the Dolphins next year.
Man, the Dolphins. Some of these AFC East teams are kind of just it's crazy how they mess things up.
At this point, the Patriots might be better than the Dolphins.
It's all quiet there. It's alarmingly quiet in New England.
They have signed a lot of players.
Like I feel like I'm not hearing anyone talk about New England, and that's I feel like it's not a good thing. I don't think they're going to be great next year by any means, but I think they're slowly building something in there.
They are, and I like Drake May. I think he's going to be quite nice. I don't know. He still doesn't have anybody to throw it to unless you count Mac Hollins, but I mean
absolutely.
Okay. I count Mac Hollins, but past that, you could just put 3 DBs on Mac Hollins and everybody else would drop the ball.
Everyone else will just drop the ball.
I think honest to God, I have seen some pretty terrible Patriots performances over the years, so I wouldn't even be surprised. But this team is building something slowly. Mike Vrabel is the head coach. I think the Dolphins could end up being the worst team in the division. And that's not crazy to say. What have they done?
Not.
What have they done? Nothing.
No.
They're sitting, sucking their thumbs. I thought something big was going to come when they started cutting everybody. They let go of Javon Holland. They never get anybody back. They have always just been they always just release players. I don't understand what they're doing with all the money.
Yeah, the Dolphins are an enigma. They've had the talent for a couple of years now, and it's just never gone their way. Obviously, injuries are a big part of that too. Yeah. But now that they're letting go a lot of the defense, that's the alarming part too.
I mean, even last year they got rid of Christian Wilkins. Why are we just getting rid of him? I don't understand. I mean, you can't just bring in Jordan Poyer and expect everything to be better.
Especially not Jordan. I love you, Jordan Poyer, but respectfully.
I don't know. It's a weird situation with the Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a few more things to talk about here. Deebo Samuel, we never covered. He went to the Commanders for a 5th. Not super high on that, but I would love to hear what you have to say.
The Commanders are also building something.
They are.
And I feel like, I don't know, to be honest, we all know, Deebo Samuel's had his problems, and maybe it's to the point where he's old and he might be washed next year, but I think when you have an opportunity to kind of start fresh somewhere, there's a chance, especially with how well they played last year, that he's just a little extra motivated. And, if it turns out Deebo Samuel has at least one more year of good Deebo Samuel for a 5th,
it's worth it.
I think that's totally worth it. I think they're just taking a risk here, a calculated risk.
Yeah, and if he stays out of the injuries, if he loses some weight, he could actually be. He was a good player for a couple of years.
Yeah, and he's a monster after the catch. And you
could use him in some fun little packages too.
Yeah, definitely. So it's a gamble. They could have ended up just throwing a 5th-round pick out the window for nothing, but I think it's the value that they got him for is low enough where it won't really matter, and I think they're making a lot of other moves too that are great for them.
Here's my question: what is San Francisco doing? I think the window's closed.
I don't know.
Officially closed.
I don't know if it's officially closed. I think they kind of want to reroute the team, and I don't think they're going to go full rebuild mode yet. I think they still like Brock.
Yeah.
And they do a tremendous job at developing players on both sides of the ball. I think they might just want to shift their team from a team that gets hurt a lot and that's got a lot of veterans on it to a younger team. And if that means they got to get rid of a lot of guys, I think that's what'll happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers are a team next year, kind of like the Eagles, not in the sense that they're going to be hyped up, but they're going to have a Zach Bond kind of guy that they pick him up and he's crazy out of nowhere. I think they do good with the developing in that kind of sense.
We'll see. They got rid of their corner one. They got rid of their fullback, who was a 9-time Pro Bowler, which is upsetting. I won't lie.
Yeah.
Kyle Juszczyk, one of the most likable players in the league, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted to be in San Francisco. They got rid of him. They got rid of a few offensive linemen. They got rid of a few defensive pieces. They're in a rebuild mode now, which is weird. It's weird to see them go back into a rebuild mode.
Yeah, but I still think with the quarterback that they have there, it won't officially be rebuild mode yet. Do you know what I mean?
I get it. Yeah, they're still going to be kind of competitive, but not the team that they once were.
Yeah, and I think honestly, maybe if they win a couple games in the beginning of the year, that they might fake out a bunch of people beginnings of September or October, something like that.
That division is so terrible.
That's what I'm saying. There's space for them to be up.
The Seahawks, they're rebuilding. The Rams are good, but I don't know. Something about them irks me. They just got Davante Adams. We could talk about that, I guess. I'm not super high on it.
You're not high on Davante Adams at all.
I'm not high on Davante Adams. I won't lie. I think he does well there. It almost reminds me of, and you're gonna laugh at me. You're gonna say I'm crazy at this one. It almost reminds me of when they got Allen Robinson.
No. I am gonna laugh you here. I think I just have to disagree entirely.
I don't know why. I'm not hyped about this Davante Adams move.
I mean, Davante Adams still had games where he had over 150 receiving yards last year.
Yes, he's good. He's very good receiver.
And he's got the frame where even if he loses a step, I don't think it matters. He's still going to have the hands.
He's going to get fed the ball by Matthew Stafford too.
Why you are making points as to why he'll be good. What are you talking about? He's not the wide receiver one. That even better.
I don't know.
He's not going to have the other team's best corner on him.
I guess the more I talk about it, the more I feel like
you're convincing yourself.
But if I don't know, I'm not going to have my hopes up. If he does well, awesome, happy for him.
Sure.
If he doesn't, I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of expected. How old is he now?
He's definitely getting up there. I think it's okay to temper.
Does he have injury problems?
Maybe. I mean, it's okay to temper expectations. I don't think it matters if you had injury problems throughout your career. Once you get to this age, injury problems are unavoidable. But if he can stay healthy, I think he's just kind of one of those guys who can ball. I think he's got at least one more great season left.
When he was on the Raiders, before he went to the Jets, how long was he on the Raiders for?
A couple of years.
Well, okay. How many weeks was he on the Raiders for before he got traded to the Jets?
I don't know.
I'm looking at the stats.
You're just gonna think that I have these in the memory
maybe it was
bank?
what, 5 or 6 weeks, maybe?
On the Raiders?
Yeah.
That he played? You mean?
He's had injury problems, right? Hold on, I'm looking at this now.
I think also there's a good amount of time on the Raiders where he just kind of didn't really want to play. They weren't proving in any way, shape, or form that they wanted to be competitive, and if he was hurt, he was just going to take as much time as he needed.
Yeah, he only played 3 games. In 3 games, he did pretty well. I won't lie. But I don't know. I just there's something about this Davante Adams move where I'm not hyped about it. I don't know why.
I am. You're wrong.
Okay. Fair enough.
Move on.
Jaycee Horn, 4-year, $100 million, highest paid corner in the league. He was the 8th overall pick in 2021 when he was coming into the league. Everyone kind of expected this to happen. He's very good, very underrated. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about Jaycee Horn?
He can hoop.
Okay.
That's all.
I like that.
He can ball.
And that's the
Good
last of our big free agent moves, at least so far, unless something else comes in last minute here. Let's go into some free agent predictions for the future. If none of these have already happened.
Yeah.
We originally had 20. Now we're down to 3, 6, 9, around 12. So that's a decent number.
The big ones are dropping like flies.
Yes. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers while he's still in the market. Where do you think he ends up?
Honestly, I think the most obvious team would be the Steelers, but I think it would just be hilarious if he followed the Brett Favre career path and went to the Vikings. And honestly, with Kevin O'Connell there, if Aaron Rodgers and him can see eye to eye, I think it would kind of work out pretty well too.
I like it. I don't mind it. I did say Steelers because I think that's the most obvious place for him to end up.
Yeah.
But I think both of us agree he should probably just retire. Honestly.
Yeah, I don't know if he's ready to do that yet, but I think he could hang it up any second now and it'd be okay.
How about Russell Wilson, another guy that just is getting to that age, man?
He didn't have a full season with the Steelers, and I think it would be kind of wrong for the Steelers to, let him go. I mean, there are definitely, sometimes you need an adjustment year, to get to a new team and fully embrace the scheme. And I think they just brought him, they brought him in another weapon.
That's true.
I think he could re-sign there but just not make a ton of money, and he can get his chances if they bring in someone else for competition, like an Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers would just start straight away. I don't think there would be a competition, but I think they still should, do him some justice, re-sign him, give him another shot.
Yeah, I want to bring up when he was on the Broncos.
Okay.
His first year on the Broncos, he was pretty bad. His second year on the Broncos, he was kind of underrated. He played pretty well. I think he honestly did play pretty well. And he just needed that adjustment year.
Yeah.
And I think if the Steelers just give him a chance, give him one more year, do you really think Aaron Rodgers is going to be better than Russell Wilson? Honestly.
I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers, with how much the Steelers run the ball, he might just be a better fit. Obviously, he's got some of the best play action in NFL history, with the little hide the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Steelers would kind of play off of a little more. However, you also have to think about, the deep ball that both of those quarterbacks still have, surprisingly enough. I mean, I think Russell Wilson kind of edges out Aaron Rodgers at this point in their career because, Russell Wilson throws those moon balls so high. You get Pickens and Metcalf down there. I think that's a match made in heaven.
But Russell Wilson, he's a good.
He's got a good deep ball, but I'm saying I think Russell Wilson's still a little bit better just because how high he puts it. And think about Metcalf, his frame.
Right.
He's a huge dude. He's gonna be better off the higher up that ball is. I don't know. Maybe they could have a genuine competition, Rodgers and Wilson. It could be closer than
matchup, honestly.
Yeah.
If not the Steelers, I think he goes to the Giants. I think those are his two options, which sucks, but it is what it is. How about Amari Cooper? I don't think he's going to end up with the Bills now that we signed Josh Palmer. I want to say he maybe goes to the Chargers. They have a lot of young receivers. He could kind of be their mentor. I think it'd be kind of good for them to have.
Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just think for really no particular reason other than maybe they just want the depth, is he goes to the Chiefs. And I think they like stealing our players too.
Fair enough.
I think he actually had a pretty decent game against the Chiefs, Amari Cooper did, or in the regular season. I think he had 60-plus receiving yards. He had a couple big plays.
Sounds about right.
I think they liked what they saw, and I think they're just going to bring him in. I think, he can be a mentor for, Worthy and Rice there too. So kind of a similar situation.
Yeah, I don't mind that. How about a Chiefs player now? Justin Reed, safety, place kicker.
Say that again?
He's a place kicker.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if he does kickoffs now, but he did when Butker was hurt.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They have him doing it in Madden too, which is weird, but anyway, honestly, I don't think this is going to happen, but it'd be really cool if he went to Bills.
Oh, that'd be sweet. We definitely need him.
He'd be really. We need safety. I think it'd be a really cool pickup.
Instead of DeMar Hamlin being out there, or he might still find his way out onto the field, anyways.
Yeah.
Just because
DeMar's a good backup, but he's not a really good starter.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like he could end up on the 49ers because what we said, weak division. I don't think they're totally ready to go full rebuild. They still have a quarterback. I think if he ends up on their team, they could quietly compete in that division.
Yeah, and they lost Hufanga too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a bad idea. How about Mekhi Becton? He was an offensive tackle originally, but then he moved to guard with the Eagles. I think he actually is going to stay with the Eagles because he found his most success there, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course. I'm going to go same division. We're going to say Cowboys.
Okay.
I think the Cowboys, they've been missing that, big O-line that they run behind for a while. And I think
depends if they want to sign someone.
Exactly, yes. There's that too. And there's a lot of talks about, Hampton in the draft that they're going to pick up a running back. So, offensive line wouldn't be the worst idea. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
And anytime you can make someone in your division worse, you should really go for it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And especially when it's your arch rival.
Exactly.
Joey Bosa and Stephon Diggs, we both agree on these ones. So, Joey Bosa, it just feels like he's going to reunite with his brother on the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels right. I don't know.
They would both love for that to happen, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Think about the team chemistry. That'd be crazy.
True. That's true. Stephon Diggs, we both have the Texans as well. I think he just resigns.
Yeah, he didn't even have a full year there.
And I think they talked about wanting to have him back.
Mm-hmm.
If not the Texans, maybe the Chargers, in the same situation as Amari Cooper.
Sure.
Yeah. But I think the Texans is where it's a good spot for him, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got J.K. Dobbins, who actually, I think he got re-signed. He did get signed, didn't he? Or no. Austin lied to me. He said that he went to the Patriots. He did not. Josh Dobbs went to the Patriots, not J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins, I think, stays with the Chargers, but maybe not now because they have Najee Harris.
Yeah, that was kind of weird, but
that was weird.
I think J.K. Dobbins could also easily end up on the Vikings, maybe as a backup there, and maybe they split some more time between him and Aaron Jones. I think the older Aaron Jones gets, the more they might want to split up that time too, because Aaron Jones has also had his fair share of injury problems.
Yeah. And they did just re-sign Aaron Jones. He could go to somewhere like the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they did just lose Javonte Williams. I don't know.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. If he did go to the Vikings, they would not be spending much money on him. It would have to be, something a little cheaper because obviously they just invested in Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Got a few more here. How about Rasul Douglas? Where do you think he's going to end up?
Well, I hate to say it again, but I think the Vikings are building something. I have him going to the Vikings as well. They need some corner help. He's a good zone corner we talked about before the show. I think he's just a good fit there too.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, actually. Who's next here? Trey Hendrickson? Oh, I guess I didn't say.
Yeah, wait, where's Rasul Douglas going?
Rasul Douglas, I think, is going to go to the Rams. I don't know why. It's just like a loophole where the Bills DBs go to the Rams. I just feel like Rams have a solid spot for him. I don't know.
Just a feeling.
Just off vibes, I think. Trey Hendrickson now.
Trey Hendrickson, I think he's going to go to a great team, first of all.
Okay. I agree with that.
And I think that great team is
a league leader in sacks last year.
Yeah, and I think he's going to go to the Lions. Think about, oh my God, with two guys that can come off the edge and easily lead the league in sacks. Before Hendrickson was the league leader in sacks, it was Hutchinson.
Yeah.
So if they could even try to get Trey Hendrickson, at least sit down with him and talk about something, having two guys come off the edge like that'd be insane for them. I think all signs point to try,
I agree with you. I think that'd be a really good move for them. I think he's an Eagle. I hate to say it. I think he's an Eagle. I think the Eagles just get even better. He just feels like, I don't know, it just feels like an Eagle. And they need him. They just got rid of Josh Sweat. So
that is, yeah.
They're saving up their money. I don't know what they're doing with it, but I think they're going to go get him.
I think we've mutually agreed, at least to some extent, because I can see that happening too, that any good defensive end or even edge rusher on the market has about, at least a 50% chance of going to the Eagles.
They have so much money, man. They really do.
Yeah.
All right, last one here. Keenan Allen. He was all right with the Bears. He's getting older though. I think the Jets feels like a place for him. I don't know. Again, just off vibes. I think they kind of need a wide receiver to replace Davante Adams. I think he could be decent there.
Yeah, I would say he could sign with really any team and probably produce at a good level.
You get like 500 yards.
Yeah, ish.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's also a strong chance he hangs it up. I think I don't have a team. I say retirement.
The retirement home for him. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is old. He's very old.
Either that or possibly even, re-sign with the Bears on a cheap deal. Obviously, they got a lot better, so no reason not to do that either.
He wants to maybe ring chase. We'll see where that ends up. But that is all we have for this episode. Hopefully you agree with our picks. If you don't, let us know. That's it for us here on Field Goals and Forecast. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Peace.